This week, Madison's Metro Transit will be hunting down a possible public health pest.
That's right. Bed bugs. According to a spokesperson, the search is following 2 different sightings of bed bugs on buses since September, with more reports in other places.
NBC 15's Michelle Beck is in the newsroom tonight. And Michelle, the talk of this issue has been circulating online, and a lot of people have been wanting to know what's true. Some even reached out to us.
Yeah, a Metro spokesperson is also aware of a social media post that's been circulating, raising concerns from bus riders and employees. I'm told staff were notified of the issue early this month. Here are the key events starting mid-September. The 18th of September is when a bus driver reported a bed bug in the employee rest area. That room was treated. Then the 22nd of September is when a mechanic found the pest on a bus. That was one of 2 bed bug sightings officials did verify for themselves, happening about a month apart. A K9 unit was called into action on October 4th. That's when the dogs detected bed bugs in 3 locations within the Metro Transit building. And even though officials did not see the bugs for themselves, those spaces were also treated. Spokesperson Mick Roosh says the issue is not widespread.
We're just not going to sit here and say, oh, we'll treat the bus. If things change, we will change. We were keeping a close eye on it. The person that I talked to about this was very knowledgeable of the timeline of everything. And so it's not just something we're blowing off. We're following up as according to, what's being recommended to us.
The K9 inspectors are set to be back for follow-up later this week. The question is whether they can still detect the bed bugs even after the employee rooms have been treated. Live in the newsroom, Michelle Beck, NBC 15 News.